All right, hello everybody. It's the Meista from Brews and Tunes. Cheers. I am incredibly excited today. I am chatting with a legendary metal drummer, Mr. Tony Heath. Thank you so much for joining me. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing pretty good, sir. How about yourself?
Not too bad. I got a frosty brew and talking metal with like I said, a legendary drummer. Of course, from Znowhite, and now playing with killer band
Breath
Breath
of
of
Sarin.
Sarin. Yeah.
Yes,
So yeah, very excited to be chatting with you. Well, let's talk
likewise.
about what you're doing now and talk about Breath of Sarin, which killer thrash band with a little bit of death elements to it as well. Um,
Okay.
yeah, kind of tell me about how did that get started? How did you get involved with those guys? I know you had an album that came out just this past year, the Livid Response, which is just phenomenal, fantastic stuff. So yeah, kind
Thank you
of
very much. Thank you.
yeah, really cool
Well,
stuff.
let me go back. Let me go back a ways to let
Okay.
you know how I came to Columbus, Ohio.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
please.
if you have time for that.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Well, I was living in Wisconsin. Um, Even though I was born and raised in Chicago and lived there most of my life, moved to Wisconsin just for about five years. I started. I found out basically I started having seizures in my sleep.
Oh, yikes.
I and one day I was jamming with a couple of buddies of mine in the next town, well, the next town over, and I remember I was when I woke up that day I was feeling kind of weird, like I had a fever, like my whole body had a fever, and I didn't feel too good, but I still drove to the next town over and jammed, and I was messing up on every song, I got kind of emotional. I'm like, man, this isn't me.
Yeah.
I normally don't mess up on songs. So we rehearsed a little bit more, and it continued. So I said, let me just go home because I'm not feeling too good. I remember getting in my vehicle that I just purchased from a friend of mine who also lived in Wisconsin. I still owe him $1,000 for it too.
Oh no.
Um, I got in my car. Remember pulling off, coming to the stoplight, turning left, stopping at a stop sign, turning left again, and then I turned right, and everything went black. And I woke up in the ambulance. They're saying, "Hey, what is your name? What is your name?" So I had a seizure behind the wheel for the very first time. And
Yikes.
luckily, nobody got hurt because that was the very first question I asked. Did anybody get hurt?
Right.
And they said no. My vehicle basically went up on like one of those centerpieces in the middle of a highway where you got trees and flowers and everything.
Right. Yeah.
It was one of those. My car kind of went up on that, and I've always known real close friend of mine, and currently my girlfriend. Her name is Burl Schottenstein. She was born and raised in Columbus. Her name is pretty much kind of kind of famous in Columbus, the Schottenstein family. But I've known her from back in the Snow White days. I used to tell her about me touring and different bands we played with and everything. So she followed me for many years. And after getting home from the hospital, I basically, she started coming to visit me, and she said, "Hey, you need to come to Columbus and live with me so I can take care of you, or we can take care of each other." I'm like, of course, my male pride, nah, that's all right. And then that time that seizure happened, so it woke me up about my health, and I said, yeah, I'll be coming down to Columbus to live. So, and then when I got here, I went to a bar. I can't remember the name of the bar, but it's not there anymore. It used to be on Parsons Avenue, right by Oak Street and Parsons. Uh, that's where I met my one of my closest friends now who lives in Columbus. His name is Charlie Taylor.
Okay.
And he's a bright guy, knows many people in national bands, and he knows his stuff. Um, and I started hanging out with him. I would say like within the first week. I actually met him the second day that I got here in Columbus, and it was a friend of his who basically told him, "Hey, you'll never guess who's here, the drummer for Znowhite." He came in wide eyed, like, "No way," you know.
Nice.
So I met him, and he told me, "Man, I used to listen to you guys all the time. You guys helped me out. You guys and a couple of other bands helped me out in hard times in my life." And I was, it humbled me. I'm like, "Well, thank you. It's
That's cool.
very nice to meet you." So from that day on, he's been my close friend ever since. Even to this day,
Nice.
and right now he's in a band called Fast and Loose, a Motorhead tribute band. So they're going to be touring and playing out quite often.
Right
So
now.
watch for them. But yeah, once I got here, Charlie was playing with who's a guy who's my guitar player now, one of my guitar players in Breath of Sarin. His name is Scott Kinnaman. So he was jamming with him, and I said, "Can I hang out with you guys? At your rehearsal?" He said, "Yeah." So at this time, Scott, and it was another gentleman who was playing guitar also, but they didn't he didn't last long because I guess his girlfriend basically ran him, and he was just playing guitar just to take up time because he didn't work.
Oh,
So,
okay.
but but when he got a job as a manager to a GameStop, he basically left the band. So it was just Scott and myself, and we stuck together like glue for at least 2.5 years, just playing, just practicing, just us two. And then I met who's currently the singer now, Ryan Thomas.
Cool.
We call him Tom. He started playing bass for a little while, and then you know I said, "Man, hey, let me." Well, I kind of jumped ahead. I asked him, "So, do you mind if I try out, for you guys?" It was just Scott and myself, and the other guitar player. So I said, "Hey, you mind if I start jamming with you guys?" And that worked out. And then the one guitar player, he left. I forgot his name. It was years ago. And Tom came along. He was playing bass, so we were just a ragtag band, wanting to be a band for a couple of years. But Scott and I, we've been honing our craft, getting tight, and everything else. There was at least we were doing that for about 2.5 years, just the two of us. And Tom came along, and then um, we were looking for a singer, and we went through singers like left and right. We couldn't find no one who fit the bill. Now I was looking for somebody who would basically, sing with a clear voice. I wasn't into the roar,
Right.
and we don't sound like that now, but he does like holler, if you want to say,
Yeah.
but it's not the death metal grit. It's just the anger man sound.
Yeah.
But I wanted something different at the time. But he just basically worked out. Tom, the bass player who became the singer, he worked out because I remember a couple of singers came down. They were okay for death metal, but we're like, no, we're not looking for that. But can you sound like this? And we went in the studio, and it was a disaster.
Oh no.
So Tom said, let me show you how to sing it. And then once he started singing it, we Scott and I looked at each other like, oh, this is the new singer here.
Yeah.
So he stopped playing bass, and then we found well, we had to go through the whole process of finding a bass player. And well, right now we're on our second bass player. It was some inner circle, inner band crap that went on. You know, one woman went from the first bass player to the guitar player type stuff.
Oh
I'm
no.
not gonna I'm not gonna talk about that, but
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
we passed that stage, and everything's all right now. But the band now is at its best because we've had plenty of time to rehearse, and we're steady rehearsing once a week. You know, we can't do like the 2 or 3 time a week stuff. That's too much. But um, we are just getting our feet wet. We're still considered new on the scene,
Mm.
but we are playing out. At least once a month. You know, we've played with bands like NSOA. My best friend who lives in Milwaukee, he's in the band called Bray Road. I used to play with him when we were a three-piece, but now there are two guitar players, one bass player, one singer. No, the singer is the guitar player, Craig Ninas, but
Oh,
his name is Nino now. He changed his name legally to Nino. That's my best friend in Wisconsin. So, but that was one of the groups that I played in. It was
really?
Znowhite. Played in the Znowhite a couple of years. But back then, my mind was like a blur. You know, I that's why I can't remember a lot of details with Znowhite because I was immature. I didn't have too much responsibility. You know, I was just more mentally like um, someone who's just taking everything in. Like, wow, oh, this is great, this is cool. But I didn't focus on the responsibility thing. You know,
Okay.
or else I'll be a lot further than I am now. You know, in the field. So
Right. Yeah.
but I kind of regret that. So I've always wondered why my brother took photos a lot or recorded stuff, and plus, you know, the the inner feeling of I didn't graduate from college, he did, so I had a complex there. You know, sometimes I would think he was kind of picking on me a little bit, so that kind of all led to me leaving Znowhite. You know,
Gotcha.
yeah, but I mean, I enjoyed myself, but that was my immaturity still. Let's put that on the record. That was
Yeah. And
my
you.
immaturity. I didn't understand a whole lot of stuff that was going on and the responsibility he had. You know, because I remember telling my girlfriend, bro, I said, you know, looking back, it was a whole lot of responsibility that I didn't have to deal with because he dealt with it. I didn't understand it. And now looking back in retrospect, it's like, wow, you know, that was a whole lot.
Yeah.
How did he put all this stuff together?
Right.
And you know, but that's what type of person my brother is, Greg. He's educated, he's well spoken, and he was he's just a very bright, intelligent person who knows how to get things done. And that's what Charlie is also. I call him the white Greg. So, you know, I told him that, you know, he doesn't take offense to that. He knows I say that in a good way.
Right.
Charlie gets things done just like Greg does. And that's why I give him plenty of respect, you know.
Nice.
But
Yeah. And
so
with Breath, I was going to ask you. So with Breath of Sarin, you have two albums, correct? You have Vengeful Purpose came out in 2019, and then just this past year, Livid Purpose came out, which is
liver response.
Livid Response. Sorry, Livid Response, which is stellar. Just I mean, you guys are just so tight, and you can tell like from those once those first notes, it's just you guys. It's such a tight knit band. You can tell that just by listening to it. I mean, it's heavy, it's thrash, but you can tell you get the sense, at least I get the sense when I listen to you guys play, that you really enjoy working together. Like it feels like there's kind of
Yes.
a brotherhood there of musicianship, which is very cool.
Well, it actually is. It actually is. We have kind of gone through the storm, so to speak, together, and I know there's plenty other storms we're going to go through, but this has given us uh, the glue to seeing that hey, we can stick. We are a group who could stick together and also go through problems. Just don't let's not be childish about it. Let's talk it out democratically and say, hey, you know, all in favor, aye, you know, or no, or whatever the case may be. That's how we do things. But yeah, every person in the group has, except the new bass player, his name is Jason Severs. He's a great guy. He's kind of green behind the ears, but he's excellent as far as sticking it out, practicing, and doing what he needs to do.
Nice.
Um, Scott and Tom, they've been in different groups around Columbus for years. So, I hear them every once in a while talking about, remember we were in guerrilla warfare and, guerrilla welfare, whatever the band was. It was a popular group, but to me, I'm like, I don't know about all that. So, I just stay out of the conversation. But I just think, for me to be with a group and liking it, I definitely want to continue on with the pro side of doing things. Like, let's not do stuff typical local band style. I want to do it professionally of what I'm used to doing. Let's do it professionally. Let's do it um things transparent where everybody can see that we love what we do. We support local groups and all the other good stuff, dealing with music.
Very cool. And you mentioned to me kind of before we started the recording, before we started the interview, you had mentioned, so the first album, Vengeful Purpose, came out a few years back. You mentioned you guys are actually looking to maybe do some remastering, do some
Yeah,
change it
definitely.
up a little bit.
Yeah, we definitely need to remaster that first CD, if you want to say, because the production on that compared to the latest Livid Response is terrible.
Hmm.
So we're definitely going to remaster it some sooner or later. I can't say when,
Oh, okay.
because we're still talking about working on new stuff.
Oh, cool.
But I'm just thinking, well, while we're working on a lot of new material, let's remaster the first material and put that out with at least 4 or 5 new songs. Just to buy us some time to work on the third CD.
Nice. Oh, cool. Cool. Do you have a for the third CD, do you guys have kind of a target date? Are you already kind of starting that pre-production or?
No,
Nope.
we have not started anything yet. Not
Okay.
even the new material. It's just ideas as far as new
Oh,
material.
gotcha. Gotcha.
That's
Cool.
how far behind we are.
No, no, yeah, take your time because you guys put out some good stuff. So yeah, that's cool.
Thank you very
Um,
much.
yeah. So I wanted to, if you don't mind, I wanted to go back in time and talk about kind of how you got started in music in the first place. Did you come from a musical family, and kind of how did you get into drumming?
Well, my mom was a singer, a great singer. She was pitch perfect, everything. She just basically worked for the city all her life. Um, in Chicago, of course.
Okay.
Yay, Chicago. Um, and she just, I guess she just let us, grow into something that we liked, that she noticed we liked, which was music.
Cool.
I can't say where I started playing drums. I remember my brother. Can you believe he used to play trumpet in the school band?
Oh, okay.
Greg, he's a great guitar player, But sometimes I tell people, I'm like, yeah, his behind used to play trumpet in the school band. Now look at him, he can read music. He learned how to read music at an early age, playing trumpet. So I'm sure that helped him out greatly in writing music and being able to read music. So
Yeah.
he was great early on. I was still struggling and whatever, because I just a little bit after I got here, a couple of years ago, after I got to Columbus, I found out that I was on I don't know if you want to say the cusp of having I was autistic, so to speak.
Okay.
So it all came ahead, why my past was like, as a one big high, you know.
Mm.
I didn't focus on one nothing really like I suppose like a normal person would, you know. Um, so I was basically taking medicine for that, you know, tablets and talking to people, and I basically, you know, became just inner as far as inner wise, mentally healed, you know.
Right.
I understood why I did things and why I acted certain ways in the past. Um, but everything is um everything is going great now. You know,
Good.
I'm taking my meds and all that stuff. I don't have to worry about seizures
Cool.
anymore. All that. So I'm cool with that.
That's great. That's good news.
Didn't mean to take a left
No,
turn
that's
on you.
no, that makes sense. That's cool. So so tell me about kind of how Znowhite came to be. Like, how did that start up? Like, how did you and Greg get into the metal scene originally? And then, you know, kind of how did Znowhite launch out of that? And I think
You
it's
know,
really
you know.
important. Oh, sorry.
Oh no, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and I think it's very. I mean, for those that don't know, and I'm sure a lot of people, at least watching this, have probably heard of Znowhite, but I think it's, you know, I don't think I can, you know, overstate the importance of how groundbreaking Znowhite was as a band at that time. You know, we're talking the early '80s, a diverse band with a female singer playing thrash metal. Like that was totally different than anything that was happening at that time, really, in a
Yeah.
lot of ways. And I think, you know, and that's why that band has stood the test of time. That music has stood the test of time, and I think it's inspired a lot of people too. You know, from, you know, various backgrounds, which I think is important and very cool.
Hey, let me say this. I remember when we used to practice, you know, in Snow White, we used to still go and see it and look up to bands like E-Trope, who was doing things already. They were touring and playing and, you know, packing the clubs and all that stuff. And we're like, we're going to be there too. They knew us, you know. We knew Barry Stern, we knew Kenny Black. Actually, that's another group I need to talk about was Sharon Tate's Baby,
Oh
which
yeah.
Kenny Black, who used to be the one of the original guitar players, the blonde hair guy. Uh, we started the group Sharon Tate's Baby after he left Etrope.
Oh, okay, cool.
So, but to answer your questions, I really can't say how we started listening to metal. We just did. You know, we were into the funk stuff and the R&B stuff, but I don't know. We went down our own path and we started just enjoying metal, and we listened to a lot of European bands. We listened to quite a few American bands. You know, that's just that question I can't answer. We just started listening to it, you know, and
Cool.
we're like, hey, we like this. This is what we want to do, you know.
Nice.
Yeah. What was the other?
Kind of how
Well,
did the
we
band start out? Yeah, how did it form?
well, my brother and I, we knew we wanted to play in a group, and we were just wondering, okay, well, who will we have in the group? And my cousin played bass or attempted to play bass, and I guess he was the first pick, you know, starting out. So, and my brother was going to college at the time, Columbia College, yay. Um, he had a girlfriend, which was Sue Sharp, and I guess he had some convincing to do to her to start singing, you know. And when she decided, you know, that's how the group became.
Hmm.
That was about 1982. Yeah,
Wow.
that sounds so far off.
Yeah.
1982, yeah.
Yeah, it's
And
hard to believe that was 40 years ago.
yeah, we uh, we were ragtag, you know, in the beginning because we were, we were wondering how we're going to get equipment, where are we going to rehearse at, and all this other stuff. So it was a slight challenge for young kids at that time, or yeah, young adults at that time, I should say. uh, what else did you want to know?
Well, yeah, just kind of I mean, yeah, that I was curious about that, kind of the formation of the band. And so yeah, you were in the band for, several years, those early days. I know you played on the demo 83 that came out, and then of course
Right,
All Hail
right.
to Thee, which is the classic, killer. And then I think you also played on the
Then
live.
kick on when you're down,
Yeah, yeah. And you also
and
played on
then
Live Suicide, right?
yeah, that was Live Suicide was kind of like early recordings
Oh, okay.
that I guess the label wanted to put out because we were going through problems. So they just put that out
Hmm.
just to buy time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess, we were kind of disappointed about that, but um, I eventually I ended up leaving anyway, so really didn't make any difference to me. But just that they put that out just to buy time was kind of upsetting.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. And you left to go pursue some other stuff, right? What did
Well, I left because, like I said, I was having you know my inner demons, so to speak, um, had me thinking that my brother thought he was better than me because he went to college and all that stuff. And
right.
sometimes we would play on the stage, and if he didn't like something that I did, he'll turn around with a look, and in my mind, I'm like, "Fuck you, looking at, fuck
Yeah.
you," that type of stuff.
Right.
But the whole thing was a great learning process. It was just me having mental problems, so to speak, and my immaturity, that it's a lot on the line, a lot riding on what we're doing. And I didn't get that whole understanding at the time.
Hmm.
So I would have, if I would have, let me say, if I was 100% normal back then, I would have taken everything a lot more seriously, and I would have gone, like beyond the call of duty, so to speak.
Right. Yeah.
But I was just going through my own thing back then, so that's why I didn't stay in Snow White for just a couple of years, and then once I left, uh, they got a gentleman named, I forgot his name, but his first name was Alex. He was in the Chicago scene for one of the groups, that we knew, but he didn't last long. So they got who was one of my favorites, who I'm still in contact with today on Facebook, is John Slattery.
Oh, okay.
Boy, that brother could play. He was always my favorite. Do Have you heard of a group from Chicago called 4XY and Concrete Blonde?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Concrete Blonde had a drummer called Harry Rushakoff.
Oh,
He
okay.
was one of my he was one of my favorite drummers because he had his uh, snare tuned like a piccolo, but it was before the piccolo ever came around that I know of. He had a nice fat poppy sound to the snare drum. This is just, I'm just mentioning this, that Harry Reshikoff was a friend of ours also. Just like the band Life Sentence. Sharon Tates Baby played with a lot of national groups. We played with even local stars like Life Sentence and a bunch of other national groups. And we used to drive around in Kenny Black's hearse. It was a Cadillac hearse,
Oh, nice.
and we used to put our equipment in there. And he was we were all known. It was Kenny Black on guitar, Jeffrey Langford on bass. He was a phenomenal bass player. He used to tap and pop and play with his fingers.
Oh, nice.
Ron Code, who I got reconnected with just a couple of days ago on Facebook, the singer for Sharon Tate's Baby. He's doing fine, and I just can't find Kenny, so I'm still trying to find him. But oh well. Um, but yeah, it was a shame that I wasn't in Snow White longer, just for my personal problems. But after Snow White, took the final run, Um, as usual, my brother was not ready to throw in the towel because he was just getting started, So he started the group Cyclone Temple, which was awesome,
Yeah.
in my book, and they got picked up by Roadrunner, I believe, and they were on. Remember, MTV used to play metal videos at night. He
Yeah.
was there. They were on that. They were on that on MTV. They were on there a couple of times.
Yeah. That's
Um, they they toured quite a bit, and I heard some horror stories with managers stealing money and
oh
doing
yeah.
buying drugs and all stuff. So they got rid of them. Um, and it was a whole lot of things going on, but they fixed the problem. Just got rid of the guy, dropped him off at a Greyhound bus station, said, "Hey, you got to go."
Good.
But
Does your
no,
brother
if
still play?
pardon.
Is your brother still playing? Is he still?
Oh, he's still playing, but he's been into more R&B
Oh, okay.
now because he's playing. He put together a couple of years ago a band called Sweet Diesel Jenkins. He's plastered on YouTube.
Hmm.
My girlfriend and I, we watch his videos. He's funny as hell. He still could tell stories. He's still a great showman. He's still a great guitar player, but his health seemed to be declining, so to speak. I mean, he's pretty much big as a house right now
Hmm.
from diabetes, and I'm kind of scared for him. But I mean, I'm sure he's taking medicine and all that. He takes care of himself excellently. But I remember Charlie Taylor, my buddy here in Columbus. He got us together because we still don't speak. We haven't spoken for many, many years. And Charlie Taylor got us to meet up because he was playing at a casino in Columbus. So he said, "You want to go?" I'm like, "Yeah, why not? No big deal." And we went, we took a couple of photos. And I remember first coming in and seeing him sitting down playing, and he was big as a house. I'm like, "Man, what happened?" In my mind, I'm saying, "Man, what happened?" But he's still playing, still successful, and he's I guess he signed a deal with make some companies making his Znowhite shirts and
Oh, okay.
a couple other things. So he's still prospering from it.
Wow.
I
Do you
just
think?
know it's never going to be like a some type of reuniting band or anything because
Gotcha.
I guess he feels nobody really showed him love when he was playing rock or metal. He's at home now. He's playing R&B now. I mean, he's pretty famous with that.
Yeah. Yeah. That was actually my next question. I was going to ask you if you think there would ever be any sort of a reunion
No,
or anything. No.
no, I would say no, no,
Which is too bad, but at the same
no.
time, it's like,
I
Breath of Sarin is great. So like, you've got a cool thing going. So it's all right in my book.
thanks,
Yeah.
thank you. I recently saw Brian Trock on Facebook too.
Oh wow.
John Slattery. I think he's a. I don't know if John Slattery is a preacher now.
Oh really?
I saw his site, and he's in something in religion, and I was kind of blown away. I'm like, wow, what happened? I
Yeah.
mean, not that that's bad. I'm just probably like he had to find himself or something. But I saw Brian Trock on Facebook, and he's still doing music. So I'm happy for everybody who's still in the music business
Yeah.
because I mean a lot of people would say if I wasn't playing music I probably would kill myself or jump off a bridge or something like that because
Right.
it's what keeps us going. It makes us happy.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to do what you love, right? So
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
yeah. Well, yeah.
And now let me see. In between Sharon Tate's Baby and Rebels Wild Without Applause, I was playing with another friend of mine in Illinois, in Chicago suburbs, is Mark Alano, because he used to play guitar in Rebels Without Applause.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'm still in touch with him. He still
Nice.
has some he still has old CDs and like tour itineraries that he said, man, I'm gonna send you a care package pretty soon. I'm still waiting for that package
Cool.
because he said we did at least 300 shows in 1 year, and I
Wow.
want to see all the bands. He named off bands. He named off bands that I totally forgot that we played with. I mean, like big mega national groups, you know.
Cool.
I forgot we even played in the early '80s. I forgot we even played with Metallica one time.
Oh, really?
You know,
Wow.
until I looked on until I looked on Facebook and did some research. Some guy said, yeah, even sharing the stage with Metallica, and it was another big band. I'm like, I forgot about those bands. You see,
Wow.
that's one thing when I missed out on with my mind being the way it was back then. Everything was one big high. You know,
Right.
I forgot all the bands we played with. And when somebody tells me or I do some research and I see that we've played with these big bands, I'm like, man, I totally forgot all this stuff.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Well, when you're playing 300 shows in a year, that's got to be a blur. I
I
mean,
love it. Well, it was definitely it was, but I remember if it wasn't for it's part one and part two video like short videos of in Rebels Without Applause after we finished playing with Seven Dust. Um, you know, we of course Greg is talking in the video. He's a great front guy. You know, loves to talk, loves to tell stories. And I forgot we played with them twice, and people thought we were on tour with them because we blew the spot up. We
nice.
blew the spot up. it
Cool. Very cool.
it was in Iowa, someplace in Iowa.
Oh, wow. That's cool. I was curious, like, as far as drumming goes, who were kind of your big influences? Who were the guys that you looked up to? Who were you kind of emulating? Who did you want to be?
Well, I normally don't have a straight answer for that, but I've always been keen on like I would always spew his name, John Bottom,
Mm, yeah.
because he always played with a fat backbeat. What I call a backbeat is a more rhythmic, oh, you know, beats like that, and that always caught my ear. You know,
Cool.
that always caught my ear. It's quite a few other drummers, but they're definitely scattered through the time. I mean, I was into Terry Bozzio. I'm still looking for a lot of rototoms, like from the smallest to the biggest, because I would definitely like a set like that. Because
Nice.
Missing Persons is one of my favorite groups. If I wasn't doing metal, if I could find a Missing Person cover band to be in, I would be in that group.
Nice.
That's how much I like Missing Persons.
Cool. I
Uh,
love Missing Persons. Yeah, great
yeah,
band.
yeah. I played with Mark Alano in a pop rock group called Modern Times,
Hmm,
and if you ever can talk to Mark, he would tell you we were damn good. We were really good. We
nice.
had pro musicians, pro sound, and we had a female singer. You know, short little cute female. I forgot her. Lisa was her first name. Lisa.
Oh,
We were doing great shows, but I don't know what happened. You know,
hmm,
I guess somebody moved away, or I don't know. I don't know. Somebody, you know, I guess it was time to move on. But Mark could tell you if you ever get in touch with him, Mark Alano.
okay.
But he still has material like demo tapes and pictures and all that stuff. So, uh, but those were the days.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, Tony, this has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for chatting with me today. And
No
for
problem. Thank you.
yeah, and for everybody watching, if you look in the description below, there's a link to, definitely check out Breath of Sarin, killer stuff. Buy their newest album. You will not be sorry. It rages. It's a punch in the head. It's so cool. I love it.
Well, you can. Well, right now, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, no.
You don't have to buy the CD because it's on YouTube free we don't have CDs right now. That's how far behind we are. We need to buy the CDs, get them pressed up, and have stuff to sell. Like material to sell at the shows besides shirts.
Yeah, you do.
So
Yeah, you do.
yeah, so we'll definitely get on that and get on top of that. And but we're still considered new in the field, so we have a little time to play with.
Cool. Very cool. Well, thank you so much, Tony. This has been great. I really appreciate your time.
No problem. Thank you very much for having me on.
Yeah.